If I walk off this plane, my life will never be the same. She was the only passenger still sitting on the plane long after the flight had ended. When the last traveler had left, the flight attendant approached her gently. "Miss, do you need any help?" The young woman looked up and answered so calmly that everyone nearby fell silent. "If I walk off this plane now, my life will never be the same." Her name was Emily. She was 28 years old, and throughout the entire flight she had barely moved. No one would have noticed her if she hadn't remained in her seat while the cabin slowly emptied. The flight attendant assumed she wasn't feeling well. "We've arrived," she said softly. Emily nodded. "I know." "Then, why aren't you leaving?" She hesitated for a long moment, as though deciding whether a stranger deserved the truth. "Because they're waiting for me." The flight attendant glanced through the window. Several people stood near the arrival gate, but there was no way to know which of them Emily meant. "Is it your family?" A faint smile crossed Emily's face. "That's what I used to believe." A few minutes later, an airport employee stepped onto the aircraft. He politely explained that every other passenger had already left the terminal and asked Emily to come with him. Instead of answering, she reached into her bag and pulled out a worn envelope. "Could you call the number written here first?" The man looked surprised but agreed. 20 minutes later, an elderly woman hurried up the jet bridge. The moment she saw Emily, she wrapped her in a tight embrace. For the first time that day, Emily allowed herself to cry. Only later did the airport staff learn how extraordinary the story really was. 5 years earlier, Emily had left home after a painful family argument. Her father had insisted she join the family business and give up her dream of becoming a designer. When she refused, everything between them fell apart. Months later, he told the rest of the family that Emily had chosen to cut off all contact. Eventually, almost everyone believed him. Everyone except her grandmother. She kept writing letters, even though she no longer knew where Emily lived. Every letter was returned unopened, yet she never stopped trying. A week earlier, Emily had received a message from an unknown sender. It contained only one photograph, a stack of old envelopes with her name on them. They had been discovered during renovations at her grandmother's house. In that moment, Emily realized she had spent years believing a story that had never been true. She bought a plane ticket that same day. But as the aircraft began its descent, another message appeared on her phone. Her father was coming to the airport. That was why she couldn't bring herself to stand after landing. She was afraid of hearing the same words that had once cost her her family. Her grandmother arrived first. She took Emily's hand and whispered, "Sometimes one person is enough to remind you where home really is." Together they walked off the plane. Near the exit stood her father. For several long seconds no one spoke. Then he reached into his pocket and carefully unfolded a small faded drawing. It was a picture Emily had made for him as a child. He had carried it with him all those years. "I never learned how to say the right things," he said quietly. "But if you can ever find a way to start over, I'll be here." Emily didn't answer immediately. She looked at her grandmother, then at her father, and for the first time in years she understood that some journeys don't truly end when the plane lands. They end the moment you stop running from your own past.